35 drivers. 6 weeks. If you want to make it to the Supercup, you have to survive this gauntlet. This is the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. This is round number 4, coming at you from Road Atlanta, the road course just north of Braselton in Georgia, here stateside in the United States for the first race of our American tour, so to speak, as we'll head to another American racetrack very, very soon. But we're here in Road Atlanta for now, Joshua. Of course, your home country, not your home state, but at least it's close enough, right?
Very much close enough. About 12 hours to the north, give or take, traffic up to Braselton, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. So Atlanta known for a lot of motorsports culture, and Georgia itself is known for a lot of motorsports culture. Of course, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, famous in the NASCAR side. Road Atlanta is famous on the IMSA side and on the sports car side. This track is a bit of hollowed ground, known for Petit Le Mans and a lot of other great endurance races with sports cars, and we're going to see some great racing here this afternoon.
Yeah, hopefully we will. We've seen a lot of great racing so far this season. I don't see why that'll change here due to the track. But let's have a look at the point standings as they are at the moment. So you can see Gianni Vecchio 18 points ahead of his closest competitor of Dino Lombardi in the championship lead. Then you have Alessandro Pico in third. But the front of the championship isn't really the big issue here, Joshua. The big issue is down around that P15. Remember, the top 15 drivers from this series will get themselves a ticket to participate in the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup for next season. Currently, it's Bobby Zelensky that will be the final driver to qualify if it ended last round. But Cooper Webster is there and with a fight. Jack Cedric only a handful of points back as well. This is where the vast majority of the desperate moves and action will be happening through into these final rounds of the season as those drivers try to scramble over those final qualification spots.
And especially those drivers that are under the cut line. And if you're under that cut line, you do not have a chance of making it to the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. Got to be above that top 15. Here's exactly where we are in the path to the 2022 Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. Bottom 20 finishers meeting the top 15 finishers from the qualifying series into the contender series that we are currently running in. And the top 15 will join the remaining drivers from last year's Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup to compete in the 2022 installment of the championship. So the top 15 is incredibly important, and with about 30 drivers going for those top 15 spots, it's prime territory up in the top of the point standings.
It really is. Those drivers searching for their chance to race with the likes of Joshua Rogers, Sebastian Job, Max Peneke, Alejandro Sanchez, all in that top series. So many names that these guys are hoping to compete against for that title, but they need to get themselves a chance first. Here's where we're racing here today. Road Atlanta, like you mentioned, Josh, is famous for hosting the Petit Le Mans endurance race. It's just over 2.5 miles long. You know, there are some, well, in terms of places to overtake here, at a premium slightly. Of course, you do have that big braking move down in towards the turn 10A, turn 10B chicane towards the very end of the lap. We've seen moves be done on the outside, inside of turn 1 as well. So those are the two places that you want to look at over the course of this event. And, well, I guess we'll be seeing a lot of slipstreaming coming through down the back straight as well.
We're also going to see a lot of moves be made down in that final chicane. These Porsches can run relatively close together, and on this racetrack, turn 6, turn 7, like you mentioned, Connor, are going to be hot buttons on the racetrack. 10A, 10B is also a great passing opportunity as we take a look at qualifying here. Just getting started, single car qualifying for these Porsches, and we'll see who's going to be starting at the top of the board in the sprint race. Always is a challenge to qualify, and we've seen plenty of times this season so far, Connery, qualifying at the top of the grid in the sprint race usually nets you a good finish in the sprint race as well.
Here's Julian Sonnen getting himself a good couple of performances so far this season. One of those drivers that has surprised us a little bit coming into this Contender series, and he's looking to put in a good qualifying effort here today as well. As you saw on his icon, his hair, well, my hair is about as long as his, so yeah, that's an interesting one. There's Julian Sonnen, there we go. There's his view on his sim rig there. As some drivers like to do, especially in the NASCAR series, not so much in road racing series here, Joshua, but some drivers do like to race in the dark just to make sure that they get themselves focused, I suppose, on those screens, the triple screens that most of them will be using.
Yeah, most of the drivers, especially here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series, using those triple screen sim rigs allows them to get a proper view of everything that is going on around them without really having to move their head as much as they would if they were in a VR headset, and gives them a lot more view as if they were not using a single monitor as well. So triple monitors is what a lot of these drivers will use, and it goes to show, Connery, just the spectrum of the drivers and what they like to use in their sim rigs, because at the end of the day, the glorious thing about sim racing and about the iRacing service is anybody can use any combination of hardware and software that they want, and they are able to do that here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Contender Series. And you can see another triple monitor, another formula style rim for Cooper Webster as he goes for a flying lap.
Yeah, and well, there's a lot of driver preferences when it comes to how drivers set up their sim rig. You pointed out the formula style rim that some drivers use, or the GT style rims as well. You also have the you know, some drivers even use NASCAR style rims, but maybe not in this series. But of course, if you don't do road racing too much and you prefer the oval side, that might well be a decision that you go for. But here in qualifying in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series, we're on board with the Vodafone on board with Kane Halliburton at the moment as he heads his way down in towards that final chicane. We haven't had well, lap times come through just yet. Drivers are just coming towards the, well, some of them towards the end of their out laps, some of them towards the end of their first flying laps here at the moment. And well, we'll see how the order stacks up, at least initially here in qualifying, in just a couple of moments time, as Halliburton, well, out into the grass through the final corner is not ideal, but that was more of an out lap.
6 times have just come in, and it looks like the only one that was on a flyer is Roger Christiansen, who currently sits at the top of the board with a 1:19.340. I believe that's the only flying time we currently have on the board as Kane Halliburton gets acclimated through the S's, and we'll see what they can put down for their first lap here on the racetrack. As we go to Dino Lombardi, we've seen some success from the 13 machine this season. Looking to continue that as we go into Road Atlanta. He's coming down the longest straightaway on this circuit, Connery, down into turns 10A, 10B. Very challenging chicane and also a great passing opportunity, but you need to make sure that you are up aside the car that you were trying to pass before you commit to the corner. That could lead to some pretty good contact down in 10A and 10B. First flying time starting to come in as well. Walters, Anderson, Gardner up to the top as Sonnen moves his way into P2.
Yeah, so a lot of movement on that timing screen right now as Dino Lombardi getting himself to 10th place so far in this one, and as he gets shuffled even further down the order as yet more times come through. Kenton Fialatte, provisional pole position at the moment for the driver of number 81. Number 16, Alexander Walters second. Peter Berryman in the Apex Racing team, number 50 in third in qualifying at the moment. One of those drivers, of course, sort of having to commit to 2 series at the moment, 2 top-level series here on iRacing with his participation in the Force Dynamics Stellara iRacing Grand Prix Series. So a lot to focus on for him as we continue on with Dino Lombardi. This will be his last opportunity here for Dino to get himself a lap time set in. These drivers have 3 timed laps that they're able to manage here before their, well, times will stop counting after that point. So this is going to be an important one for Dino, considering the banker lap wasn't great. He'll be hoping that he's promoted a little bit further up the order with this one.
See what he can do. Going down into the same spot that he was in turn A, 10B. See what he can do and get that power down through this final 10B corner. You do not want to spin those tires coming through that corner. Get all the momentum, get all the grip down onto the track that you possibly can through the final corner for Lombardi. Will it be an improvement? Not enough, Connery. Only improves by 1 position up in a P16. You can see the disapproval on his face, Connery. Not the lap that he wanted. He's going to be starting about mid-pack and about a little bit lower than that when we go racing for the sprint.
Yeah, that was a bit of a sigh of disappointment there from Dino Lombardi, and it just goes to show how much pressure is on these drivers' shoulders at the moment. Remember, though, this field is oh so close as we're right on board with Lockwood as he heads his way across the line to finish one of his flying laps here. The front, I would say, front 18 drivers all covered by about half a second at this point. There's a change at the very front, though. Moreno Soricha up into pole position in the number 69 machine as we continue to ride on board here with Brian Lockwood into the S's section, where it can get a little congested coming down through here. Of course, we won't have too many issues with lap traffic here today. This is what you'd see in an endurance race here. But if you do go side by side through there, you are going to lose a whole bunch of time.
Definitely not what any of the drivers want to do, and we're going to see some passing happen going through the S's. If a car is slower, they can easily get around them, but majority of the passing tonight is going to be made turn 6, maybe turn 7 if they're able to get a good exit out of 6, and then turn 10A and 10B down in that hard braking zone of the chicane that we're seeing Brian Lockwood come up to now. Lockwood trying to improve on, I believe, having none of his flying times counted just yet. 1:41.384 is his fastest time. I believe that was a warm-up lap for the 43 of Lockwood. So he comes out of the final corner. And here's Matty Sipola that we're taking a look at as well. He's trying to improve off of a P14 as he works his way out of turn number 7. 4 minutes, 18 seconds remaining here in qualifying. Lockwood up into P10. What can Sipola do to try and improve from a P15?
Not much, I'm going to say already. He's already used all of his allotted qualifying laps here in this one, so will not be able to improve, unfortunately, on that P15, no matter how much wind is in his hair. It's not going to make him go any faster and let the iRacing system count him another lap. So that's going to be the qualifying done for the driver of number 17. Here's Elvis ranking in the number 91, heading across the line now. Of course, no improvement for him whatsoever either. Still stuck down there in P20. As far as drivers that haven't completed all of their allotted laps just yet, I did just see, who's that? Alexander Biko could potentially, no, he's already taken the tow back to pit lane. That's why the track is seeming rather empty at this stage. So we're not expecting a lot of changes here in the final couple of laps of this session. Some drivers just out there just to get their sights set for the race. But due to the lap times being oh so short here, you can get those 3 lap times done in quite quick succession, which is why we have time left at the end.
About 3 minutes left in qualifying, and if a driver does not tow it back to the pit lane, they do have an opportunity to stay on the racetrack. Yes, the laps will not count, but they are good for practice. I've done that a good bit if I'm not familiar with the racetrack, and of course for these drivers trying to qualify for a world championship, every single lap of practice counts as Biko gets a little bit squirrely coming up the hill through turn 5. We'll go into turn 6 now, and fortunately, this lap isn't going to count towards his times, but relatively decent times for Biko. 14th place currently on the leaderboard. Not as far up as he wanted, but taking a look at the lap times, Connery, everybody down to roughly about P14, right around Biko, is within 3/10 of each other. You go down to P18 within about 4.5 tenths. You go down to P22 within about 6/10 of each other. These lap times are close on the board right now. We're going to see some close racing here at Road Atlanta, and it's even going to make it more difficult for these drivers to pass because everybody is going to be just about even on speed.
I mean, just to look at the gap between P1 and P2, it's 14 thousandths of a second between Moreno Soricha and Kenton Violate. Berryman's not too far behind either by the order of a 10th of a second or so. And then Voltas is 3 thousandths of a second behind him. So potentially very close things at the very point of the end of the field here as we just wait for the rest of this time to start to wind down in qualifying. There's Matti Sipler from the Kova Esports team, of course, a well-known esports organization there in Finland, and him and his teammates also participated in, a couple of weeks ago, the National Finnish Sim Racing Championships as well. So it's great to see the individual countries getting themselves their own competitions as well. That's also what Porsche do with their Porsche Sim Racing Deutschland and Poland and Brazil and things like that as well. So it's important to develop those individual country sim racing scenes as well. Sipler, certainly one of the better contenders inside of that one, but let's see how he does here today, because currently he's down in P4. Well, he's down sort of close to the bubble, I would say, in terms of getting himself his ticket into next season. So he really does need to get a good result here today to get that back on track.
And continuing to look at a couple of these drivers on the racetrack. And there's Sam Keitzer. Take a look at the ice pack. He got his wisdom teeth taken out, I believe either today or just recently. So racing with a good bit of paint. And this happened during the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship as well. So a couple of days ago, still dealing with a bit of that pain. You can see that ice pack he's holding up. Not going to work well if he's trying to drive Connery with that ice pack, but getting a little bit of soothing nature to that tooth, or to the pain that he's having with getting his wisdom teeth taken out. That he's going to have that ice pack on. Can't do it while he's driving, though. So especially the feature races might be a little bit painful for him. And I can't imagine how that went on Thursday with the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship.
It reminds me of Jamie Fluke in the Tag Heuer Esports Supercup last season, where he injured himself during one of the races and had a bit of a dodgy arm for the next event at least. So yeah, you know, obviously that's tooth issue, not sim racing related, but still it's an interesting thing to consider. But we've got ourselves our starting grid set then for the sprint race here today of 9 laps. We'll have a feature race of 18 laps a little bit later on with the reverse grid. But there's Moreno Sarica on pole position with Kenton Violate in P2, Peter Berryman in P3 with Alexander Volters P4. And then you cycle things further back. Josh Thompson, Julian Sonnen running at the top 6. You've got David Williams, Cooper Webster, Bobby Zelensky, Brian Lockwood, Vlad Kimichev, and Joshua Anderson cycling things down to P12 in the starting grid. You've got Griffin Gardner and Alessandro Pico on row 7. Mati Sipler and Alexei Nesov behind them. And you've got Grabowski and Lombardi cycling down to P18 on the starting grid. An injured Sam Keitzer starts in P19 here today with Elvis Rankin in P20, Oscar Biskrud P21, Jack Sedgwick P22, Christiansen and Benso on the next row of the starting grid. And then you have at the very back a couple of names, Godestad, Laubish, Caruso, Caniero and Halliburton. Those final 3 drivers not able to set themselves a time in qualifying. So therefore, they will start at the very back of the starting grid here today. We've just got a couple of moments to go, maybe about 20 or 30 seconds, just to try and think about what's going to happen here on this first lap, because that turn 1 comes up on you very quickly, and then up into turn 3 can cause a couple of issues as well, Josh.
Interesting to see how these drivers are going to navigate the S's for the first time, because we talk about the S's, not exactly the place where you want to go too wide on the racetrack. So they end up going too wide from there. I'm expecting a little bit of drama going through the S's and up into turn 5.
Drivers just about getting themselves to the starting grid now, taking up their positions for the race start. You see Moreno Sarica on the left-hand side of your screen. He's the guy in pole position. What can Violate do from the front row as well? We are underway. We are racing here in the sprint race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series round number 4 at Road Atlanta. The field is off and away down in towards turn number 1. Sarica leads with Violate second, Berryman in third. A little bit of a swapping for position behind though. David Williams involved in a bit of a fight with Julian Sonnen on the way through turn 3. Very blind entry to that corner. You kind of just have to aim and pray as they go down the hill for the first time through the S's section. A bit of contact. Kimichev and Bobby Zelensky are come together, and you can see in the background that has caused a huge problem back there.
Multiple drivers off, I believe 4 or 5 just got taken out as they went up the hill to turn 5. Multiple drivers in that one, but up front, it's now Peter Berryman giving a little bit of pressure to Kenton Violate in front of him. Alessandro Pico also goes off, and it looks like Jack Sedgwick with damage in the back as well. But up front, Sarica, what a start for the 69 machine. Up to the front, Violate to P2, Berryman, Thompson, and Volters the top 5 as Josh Thompson tries to give Peter Berryman a little bit of pressure as they go into 10A.
Yeah, following quite closely in towards that 10-10A, 10B chicane already, but we've got a rather big divide in the field at the moment due to that instant that we had coming through towards the end of the S's section. Lots of cars scattered across the racetrack, lots of cars getting caught up in an instant that simply wasn't their fault, and they just had absolutely nowhere to go. We'll get you a replay in just a couple of moments' time of that entire situation, but it certainly wasn't pretty, and it just goes to show how one little mistake, one little bit of contact can just snowball into so much more.
And that was going through the portion of the racetrack that we have talked about, Connery, as one of the parts of this track where you do not want to go side by side, let alone 3 wide, I think they were for just a moment. And that led to a lot of great cars into the pit lane. Joshua Anderson, Jordan Caruso, Jack Sedgwick, Griffin Gardner, Alessandro Bico, Kane Halliburton, among some of those drivers that were involved in that one. Battle for third. Thompson giving a good bit of pressure to Peter Berryman right now, as the 51 for Williams Esports tries to catch up to the Apex Racing Team machine of Peter Berryman. Saricha and Violate in a little bit of a battle up at the front, but Violate cannot get close enough to make that move for the race lead right now. And this train starting to form up at the front of this field. Looks to be top 8 with Cooper Webster at the tail end of this line. But Violate is focused on the lead. Thompson's focused on P3.
Well, we can get ourselves a look back here on the Vodafone replay of exactly what happened on that first lap. And, well, it was a whole bunch of confusion behind as cars just coming together. This is why you do not get yourself too wide through the S's section. It was Bobby Zelensky that was involved in that initial incident, and you can just see how it just scatters everyone across the racetrack. No one knows which direction to go at the moment, as here's the onboard with the 21. This is Carl Nairo's view of everything that happened. Well, everything happened ahead of him. Let's see if he was able to pick the right line through all of this. You can just see him slamming on the brakes. Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Oh, just gets a little bit of contact there and gets sent off. But that's never what you want to see here, Josh. We want to see everything clean, everything respectful, and, well, sometimes things like this do happen, unfortunately.
Just about the opposite of what happened there, and so unfortunate. I mentioned the drivers that are in the pit lane: Anderson, Sedgwick, Caruso, Gardner, Bico, Halliburton, all involved. And it's a solid 6 drivers who have some decent speed here at Road Atlanta as well. 2 of them, Gardner and Bico, losing 14 spots in that engagement. So unfortunate for all those drivers, but up front, we still got a race going on as Violate takes a little bit of a trip through the grass, much like everybody, maximizing track limits out of that final corner. And look at that, Violate, fastest time on the board right now at a 1:19.148, trying to chase down Siricha at the front of this field, and he's the only one right now that is within striking distance for that lead. The Williams Esports number 69 trying to hold on to the lead, but Quentin Violate, we know he's got speed, Connery, winner of the feature race from the second round of the championship. He knows how to get it done when it comes to the race. He hasn't won a sprint race yet. Looking for his first one here.
Yeah, of course. A good collection of points to go with. That 25 points to go, to be exact, for a race win in the sprint race here. But of course, you do have to be conscious of that reverse grid. The top 8 from the results of race number 1 here, well, they'll get inverted around for the feature event. Of course, that feature event is twice as long, so a little bit more time for those drivers to make up positions. But Violate is just being patient here on Saricha. He's applying the pressure, but he's not got any sting in the tail for the moment. He's just waiting and biding his time. Doesn't feel like he wants to quite get himself past just yet. Maybe they're just trying to work on the gap to Peter Berryman first and foremost, so then he can't third party in on this.
And it's a bit difficult, especially here at this track, to really pick a point to pass, because we've talked about the S's. You don't want to go side by side through the S's. Okay, mark the S's off as a opportunity that you do not want to pass at. Okay, turn 6. Maybe if I get a good run down that straightaway, I can make a move into that corner. Okay, there's one passing opportunity. Turn 7, not really. Turn 8 and 9, basically on that straightaway. If you get a slipstream, you might be able to do it. But 10A, 10B really is the hot button passing zone that these drivers need to look at. So we take a look at a Vodafone replay here, Connery. More issues for the 92 machine. They went down into turn 10A, 10B. There's the contact, and Nicholas Laubish gets turned around in 10B.
Yeah, that is super, super unfortunate there. One of the Apex Racing Team cars, I believe, involved in that one down in towards the chicane that time around. And, well, it's not been the best of series so far here for Nicholas Laubish, or of course the entirety of Urano Esports as well. Seems like they've been involved in a couple of incidents so far this season, and well, we go back towards P number 9 at the moment, because this is where all the action's at. Brian Lockwood ahead of 2 battling cars at the moment. That's Vlad Kimichev and Mati Sipler, as Kimichev almost gives a shot to the back bumper of Lockwood coming through the final corner. Oh, he squeezes Sipler off the circuit. Sipler with the off-track excursion loses the position to Kamil Grabowski there. He'll take that all day. It's handed to him on a silver platter, but great car control there from Sipler. You know, finish, rallycross driving, it all works out.
Never seen a Porsche rallycross car. Maybe we'll get some now with that one. And Lockwood now leading this train. Kimichev, Grabowski, and Sipila in tow. You can just see how quickly that a spot can be lost just like that. It was one off-track excursion, one little bit of contact that led Sipila to fall to the tail end of this line as we take a look in the sim rigs of Lockwood and Kimichev as they continue to battle for P number 9. Here's a passing zone they're coming up to, 10A, 10B. I don't think Kimichev is going to have enough of a slipstream and enough momentum to go for a move, but watch Sipila and Grabowski. They might have an opportunity to do so, as Violate stepped out once again at the front of the field. Could not get the pass made when they went into the corner. He's staying, stalking that leader right now with 3 to go at the line, Connery. Violate is running out of time if he wants to make this move.
Not a lot of time, but I think this is more deliberate than anything else here from Violate. He's just waiting for the best time, just trying to take a more calculated approach to this, because as soon as he tries to draw it alongside Saric, try and have an extended battle and not do it cleanly, that's when Peter Berryman can third party in on it, maybe get himself up from third to first in that situation if it all goes wrong. So this is, I would say, calculated here from Violate. Yes, he has shown the nose here and there, more to scare the driver into a mistake and to miss their braking point, miss their line or whatever. But Sricha has been pretty immune to that so far. He's been relatively comfortable here at the very front of the field, despite all the pressure the number 81 is piling onto his rear bumper. But Violate now, he needs the execution coming up to, well, it's 2.5 to go at this point. And, well, just keeping his space net right now coming down the back straight. Of course, he'll get that slipstream into the braking zone, but I don't think this is going to be the time that he's going to send it.
Not going to be an opportunity that is good enough for Violate to make that move, but you can see just how close he is staying, exactly what he needs to do. Really, the judge of if a driver can make a move on the driver in front or not is, are they staying close to them while the lead car has clean air? Sirija has not been able to pull away from Violate. That's how I know that Violate has the car to be able to make the pass for the lead. He is faster in his fastest lap time and can stay right on that back wing as much as he needs to. And with 2 laps to go, he's been on that back wing since we began this sprint race for 9 laps. He has been right there the entire time. So Violate has the power to make that move, just wants to make it at the right opportunity to avoid Siricha possibly coming back and making a move, or to avoid some contact and avoid both of them getting wrecked out here in the sprint.
Yeah, gotta keep a cool head in these situations, no matter if you're the driver defending or if you're the driver on the attack. You can see the views of the other battles that we have to pay attention to as well, because it's not just the battle for the race lead, it's battles deeper in the field that they'll decide who gets themselves qualified into the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup. And here comes Kenton Violate here on the 2 to go mark, making a move down the inside at the chicane. He's got the position done. A bit of oversteer from the Williams Esports car of Moreno Saricha as they come up towards the final corner. 1 more lap to go. Has Violate shot too early though?
I don't believe he has, Connery. Look at the gap now with Siricha. He's back about 5/10 as they race through turn number 1. Battle for 9th place is 1 position back from that transfer spot. Currently inverse pole is going to be the 8th position of Cooper Webster. Battle for 11th and 12th place, that's Sipila and Grabowski now on the bottom right of your screen. But the battle for the lead, Connery, is not much of a battle anymore. 6/10 the gap between Violate and Siricha now as they race down the hill to turn 6.
Violate, he's just turned on the afterburners here after getting past. He's extended the gap, and it seems like Saricha just can't quite keep up. If there was one place he needed to be close, it was coming out of this corner before the long back straight, and I don't know if he's... well, of course, the absolute send is always an option. It just depends on how far back you want to do it. But for Saricha, I get the feeling this is just a little bit too far back to be able to make anything happen for P1 in towards the final chicane. And yes, Violate has it secure through there. He just has a couple more corners to negotiate. Under the bridge they go, and, well, down the hill and into the final corner. A second to last lap pass for Kenton Violate. He's able to net him a sprint race win here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. The battle behind is indeed close as well for those positions just outside of the top 10. There's Brian Lockwood in 10th, Sipler and Lev Grabowski in 12th. That's the order that battle headed their way across the line in. Your reverse grid pole position sitter is the 37 of Cooper Webster. Here's a recap of the results there, and of course, unofficial, but these results will be used to dictate the starting of, well, the starting grid of that feature race, but it's a top 8 reverse grid. Kenton Violate with his first sprint race win here. Fantastic stuff from the 81. He'll start in 8th for the main events, though. Moreno Saricha in P2 with Peter Berryman in P3, Josh Thompson P4 with Alexandra Volters P5, David Williams P6 with Julian Sohn in P7, Cooper Webster P8. He will start in the pole position for the feature event. Vlad Kimachev narrowly missing out on that one in P9 with Brian Lockwood in P10. Matty Sipler P11 with Grabowski in 12th. Oscar Bixrud in P13 with Elvis Rankin P14. Got to start in 15th with Lombardi 16th, and then outside, just inside the top 20, Nesov, Kitert, Carneiro, and Zelensky. And those outside of the top 20, well, the last car on the leading lap is Roger Christensen in P23. Everyone else behind him, well, one lap down or more, and, well, most of these went out in the first lap of the event, so they'll be starting at the very back of the feature race as well. The names Caruso, Sedgwick, Anderson, Biko, Halliburton, and Gardner. Those will be starting at the very back for the feature event. So we had a little bit of a chaotic moment there in the first lap of things, Josh, but things did simmer down a little bit when we got some good action towards the end of the event. And Josh, you're standing by, of course, with the RHG Esports driver of Kenton Violate.
The third unique sprint race winner this season, Kenton Violate. Kenton, we spoke to you a couple of rounds ago after your feature race win, but now we're speaking to you middle of the way through the event here in the sprint race. Just how much does the sprint race do for your momentum and your confidence going into the feature tonight?
Hey everyone, I'm really happy to win this feature. This eight, sorry, not the feature. I followed Moreno, and I tried to keep behind him to don't create any crash or I don't know what, but yeah, I overtook him in the penultimate lap, and yeah, I'm quite happy and I feel confident for the future. More confident than for the Red Bull Ring, sorry.
Well, good luck coming up here in the feature from Road Atlanta, Kenton, and we'll be watching for you to be up at the front.
Can you repeat that?
Good to hear from Violate there, Connery. Expecting some strong things from him starting P8 on the grid. And he's going to have a bit of work to do, but we've seen Violate get the wins in the feature race before. Don't think it is outside of the realm of imagination to think that he'll be up at the front.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. You'll be starting in P8, of course, coming into the feature event. So it's going to be a very tough job from that position. It's not impossible, though. We've seen many drivers get themselves a race of their lives, just passing cars left, right, and center to be able to recover from a reverse grid like that. If you're wondering where I am, I'm on the third floor suite of the Michelin Tower here at Road Atlanta. So there we go. That's where I am because I have a fancy green screen and everything. But yeah, heading into this feature event, of course, twice the length here of the sprint race. We'll get 18 laps of racing at Road Atlanta, and well, Josh, just ample more opportunity to see some action, especially if you're one of those drivers that caught the bad end of the reverse grid. Maybe a couple more opportunities, and hopefully we don't have the problems on the start like we had in the sprint race.
I think we're going to see just a little bit of that coming up in the feature. Of course, a lot of the drivers now know what to expect when it comes to this feature race, but you got a lot of drivers who are desperate. You know, we can say that. There are 3 rounds down in the championship, 3 to go. If you're under the cut line, especially by a substantial points amount, you need good points out of this feature race here from Road Atlanta. So we're going to see a lot of drivers trying to make moves that maybe normally they wouldn't make, making a little bit more of aggressive moves throughout this feature race, because the big points are paid out here in this portion of the event. If you're not close up to the front, you need to get there quick to get those points.
Of course, we can take ourselves a look at all of the drivers racing here today, here in this one, and well, of course, it includes us as well, given we're all in the same call. But yeah, everyone just getting themselves focused. We, of course, do have a little bit of a 5-minute warm-up session in between the 2 races here for drivers, just to cool down a little bit. Some of them like to take themselves to the track. Some of them don't even do any laps in the warm-up here, just to make sure that they can focus on the task ahead. But it's great to see everyone's faces here. Of course, it's not something that we've had for incredibly long here. Of course, it's great to see them in action, and great to sort of put a face to the cars out there, because there's been championships prior where you just see the cars out there and there's no connection to a human who's actually racing it, and so therefore it's great to have everyone sharing their webcams here today with us. So well, the warm-up session is about to draw itself to a close. We'll get ourselves into racing mode in a couple of moments' time, and we can, of course, get confirmation of the starting grid for the feature event. So it will end up being, of course, Cooper Webster on pole position, with Julian Sonnen also on that front row. David Williams and Volters will be on row number 2. And then you've got Josh Thompson, Peter Berryman cycling things down to P6. Then you have your front 2 at the end of race 1. They'll start a little bit further back here in this one. P7, P8 for Sricha and Violate. Vlad Kemachev and Brian Lockwood, P9, P10. The rest of these will be very familiar to you if you paid attention to the results of race number 1, because it's exactly where they finished. So Sipler, P11, Grabowski, P12, Iskrud in P13, Elvis Rankin, P14, got to start 15th, and Lombardi in 16th place. So we'll get ourselves very, very quickly cycled through, because we are just a couple of moments away from going feature race racing here at Road Atlanta. Drivers have already gotten themselves ready, gotten themselves onto the starting grid, and now they prepare themselves for what's ahead. 18 laps of racing in the feature event here at Road Atlanta for round number 4 of the Porsche Heuer Esports Supercup Contender Series. We are off and away down towards turn 1. It was a good start for Julian Sonnen from P2. He'll challenge the outside of your pole position sitter in through turn 1, but you can't get anything done out there. Webster leads up in towards turn 2, and then that flick in towards turn number 3 as they get 2 tires up onto the curb there, side by side between Berryman and Josh Thompson in the middle of the pack. We see a big puff of smoke. I think a couple of drivers have had to take to the runoff area, but definitely not as big of an incident as we had seen in the sprint race. Everyone clean through the next couple of turns and through the S's. So that's already a lot better than the sprint race. Now down into the braking zone on cold tires still, of course, as well. Sipler back through the field. Does push a little bit wide, allowing a couple of cars in, but everything much cleaner here initially.
And everybody now racing down the straightaway towards 10A and 10B. Will anybody go for an early move? It looks like David Williams might be gearing up for a move made on Julian Sonnen, but you can see them all going to the opposite side of the racetrack. Nobody stepping out. Here comes Williams to the inside. Battle for second going into 10A. He's got that opening to the inside. Can't get the power down in the apex of the corner. Goes for the crossover. Will it be enough for David Williams? No, it will not. He's going to have to surrender that spot to Sonnen for the moment. Could not get the grip, couldn't get the momentum through the apex of the corner to beat out Julian Sonnen through 10A. Williams will have to settle for P3 right now, as we still see some side-by-side a little bit further back in the mid-pack, but up front, it's Webster trying to pull away.
Yeah, we'll get ourselves a bit of a Vodafone replay of what happened in those initial couple of laps here, Joshua. And, well, we did see a little bit of contact deeper in the pack. There's one of the Urano Esports car pushing off one of the Leo's team members. And then there's also the Racecraft Esports car going off. Here's the onboard with Bobby Zelensky up into that turn 3 section. And there's absolutely nowhere he can go.
had to take a trip through the grass, through the access road, and get back onto the racetrack. Luckily, didn't lose too much. He's still in P22. Zelensky can still race here. Here's the battle for P2 as Williams going to step out once more. This might be a loss for Williams, though, Connery. Take a look at Volters. Volters is going to take it to the grass. 3 wide for a moment. I thought Volters was going to give a shove to the 40. He is not. He's going to step out. 3 wide into 10A here, Connery.
Incredible stuff. Volters down the inside trying to challenge Julian Sonnen. Sonnen just about getting ahead. Now it's Peter Berryman looking to try and make some progress as they go under the bridge here for the second time in the main event. Volters able to score that position over Berryman as well. Josh Thompson just waiting in the wings here at the end of lap 2 on towards lap number 3. It's action left, right, and center, Josh.
Just everything happening on the racetrack right now. Webster going to set the fastest lap up at the front in the number 37, 119.558. You can see right side of your screen the current points as they run. And Bobby Zelensky with that issue on the first lap, almost getting caught up in an incident, having to take to the grass. Down in P22 now. He sits 1 point under the top 15 cut line currently. Just trying to hold on now and get in some more spots to be able to get back up above that cut line. Right now you can see the set 79 machine about 24 points good, and Guven is currently in P15, not racing here in this event from Road Atlanta, so that gives Zelensky a little bit of a better opportunity to work his way up above that cut line once again, as we see some more side by side. This time it's Thompson and Berryman. As we take a look at the Vodafone replay, 3 wide into 10A. Connery, not sure exactly what they were thinking, but take a look at the trip through the grass for Volters.
Yeah, this was absolutely crazy, teasing with the track limits all the time, and well, this is the action that you really want to see here in this series, as you see the 16 RHE Esports car just get all sorts of out of shape there. That was indeed Alexandra Volters, and well, still remains in P4 for the moment. Julian Sonnen setting himself the fastest lap time of everyone so far in this event, and well, let's see if he can continue on that. That's good progress, because he did, of course, lose that position to David Williams earlier on. So Williams runs in second place for the moment, still all stacked up behind all those guys, though. Urano car in the wall, and I think that might have been Laubish.
Believe it was, and that is going to be even more issues for Laubish as we look again at the live points. Take a look at that. Guven and Zelensky now tied for that cut line. Zelensky moved up 1 spot. He was able to get by Oscar Bixrud to move himself up into P21. Next driver Zelensky's going to be looking for is Griffin Gardner in the 93. If he can get past him, that'll put Bobby Zelensky back up into the top 15 of the points and back into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup for 2022. Still, of course, 2 rounds remaining here after Road Atlanta, but you do not want to be under that cut line. It is a lot easier to defend that cut line than get back above the cut line. We take a look at another Vodafone replay here, Connery.
Yeah, but here's the incident with Laubish. It was Jordan Caruso, I believe, that got into him a little bit there in towards the S's section, and well, the impact with the barrier and the timely tow back to pit lane to make sure he didn't roll back into the traffic there. But as you can see, live points on the right-hand side of your screen there. And, well, things getting very, very close for that P15 indeed. Of course, it becomes more of a crucial feature when we get into the actual, well, second to last and then final round of the season. But it's good to keep track of it right about now. Here's the little interesting situation we have involving Bruno Carneiro. We have Brian Lockwood and actually Nesov involved in all of this as well. The Altus car is Jordan Caruso is involved in that instant a little bit earlier on. So a big stacked up train for the positions just outside of the top 10. And, well, wonder if there's anything going to be changing here, because they're all closely back together coming on towards the back straight. So this is going to be ample opportunity to make moves down into the chicane. But do you even want to at this stage, or do you just maintain your position for now and just wait to see how the race develops? Surely most of the drivers want to have a go forward attitude at this point.
That's the golden question, Connery, is when are these drivers going to make the moves on the racetrack that they ultimately need to make? We're going to be going on to lap number 6 here in just a moment as Cooper Webster comes over across the line. We're on board with Matty Sipola here in the Vodafone onboard. Currently in P8, a trip through the grass for Sipola. Gets a little bit loose coming off of the final corner. Takes a little bit of a trip through the grass. But now in this stage, Connery, I think what a lot of these drivers are going to try and do is get to the back bumper of the driver in front of them and try and maybe make that pass in a couple of laps. Now they want to sort of reach, okay, who do I need to fight? Who's in front of me? Okay, let me try and reach them. Then I can decide when and where I want to make that move, because ultimately, if you're not close to another car, you can't pass anybody.
Hippler's done a good job so far in this one, though. Started P11, up into P8 right now, and positions for the taking ahead of him as well, as we continue to ride with him on the Vodafone onboard. And, well, it all requires getting that good run out of turn 7 to set yourself up for the move down into turn 10A and 10B. So that's the task for Sippler. As we look further forwards, there's Julian Sonnen on his way down in towards that chicane, tailed by Alexander Volters, and Josh Thompson, Peter Berman, Saricha, and Sippler all into that section here at the moment. And, well, for those drivers that got themselves the bad end, quote-unquote, of the reverse grid, shall we say, still kind of stuck at the moment. Moreno Saricha hasn't improved any positions from where he started, and in fact, Quentin Violate has lost a position from that P8 he got demoted into. So it's not been a good time here, at least early on, for the front runners, as we're seeing a little bit of battling a little bit further back. And well, this is Bobby Zelensky, and this is one. Well, this is a pass if he's able to get it done that will put him into the top 15.
Fighting with the 71 of Roger Christiansen, and every position on this racetrack means a point. So this is important for Zelensky to get around Roger Christiansen. You're on board with Zelensky now. P21 getting as much off of the track as he possibly can, maximizing those track limits. Looks to the inside, cannot do it. And remember, just a couple of days ago, earlier in this week, finished 3rd place in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship from the Virtual Texas Motor Speedway. And he brings it here to Virtual Road Atlanta in a completely different car, completely different type of racing, and is still fighting to get inside the top 15.
Been a busy past couple of weeks here for Zelensky, and he's going to send one on the brakes down into the chicane. He's overcooked it. He's completely overcooked it, and he has to take the shortcut through out onto the grass. He'll get a slowdown penalty as a result of that, but what makes it worse is this driver's going 2x2 behind him. That's going to look to quickly get their way through.
Bobby Zelensky with a trip through the grass. Here's the Vodafone replay. Down into 10A. He made the move to the inside, but he did not hit the brakes enough. Took a trip into the grass. Now, I believe he did get a slowdown, but Connery, he gained enough time and had enough momentum. Oh, no. He's going to serve the slowdown now. Here comes Bixford to go by. Will he lose the spot to Keechert as well? Yes, he will. And just like that, Zelensky above the cut line goes back under the top 15 by 1 point.
There we go. That's just how it can go sometimes, looking for those extra points to get in. And as soon as you get in, well, you've overcut the corner and you slip all the way back out once again. And, well, now behind Sam Keiterts, he's still ahead of Roger Christiansen, though, in this situation. And, well, I think if you're Zelensky, you're very, very thankful that that didn't go any worse, that move down in towards the chicane that time around. Here's a look back towards the, more towards the very front as we get ourselves a scrap behind between Goddestad and Nessov. Here behind you've got involving Berryman and a couple of the other cars back here in the pack as well. It's all a bit frantic and, well, it's led by Berryman, at least in that particular train at the moment, but it kind of felt like any moment that that could have all shuffled around. Someone's had a big one.
That's Joshua Anderson around on the front straightaway. I believe Bruno Carniero also got a piece of that one. You know what that does for Bobby Zelensky? Moves him up one more spot. I believe he's going to be even on the cut line once again as we take a look at the train led by Peter Berryman, Sirica, Sipola, Violate, Ronkin, all in this line. As headlights flashing for the 16, doesn't look like Valters was happy with the move made in front of him. Stepping out goes Sirica. Can't make the move done by the apex of the corner, so he'll stay behind Berryman, but not by a lot. So we take a look at a Vodafone replay. Here's what happened to Anderson.
Yeah, here we go. Side by side with the racecraft cars. That's the 43 of Brian Lockwood, and well, that unfortunately was perhaps always going to end in tears with Anderson having heavy impact with the pit wall there. There's only so much room to work with through that sequence of corners. But now coming up towards the halfway stage of the race, the battle still raged on. This time inside of the top 10 as we'll get ourselves 3 wide down in towards the turn 10A, 10B chicane, and Zelensky is in the back of this one, looking at the 14 and the 79 battling ahead of him. That's Sam Keita and Oscar Bitsrud that are going wheel to wheel through the chicane and now down in through the final corner. It looks like they're not going to relent whatsoever. Bitsrud looking to get a good run out of that corner, maybe make something happen in towards turn number 1. He looks to the inside, but the opportunity is not available for him. Zelensky with the Vodafone on board is being our cameraman at this point.
What a battle between Keitsert and Bixrud up the road. You can see them both aggressive to the curbs, both maximizing track limits, trying to battle each other. And Bobby Zelensky took it 3 wide down into 10A. He's honestly right now, like you mentioned, Connery, our cameraman. He's a spectator right now watching this battle in front of him. Looks like he made a move 3 wide and then backed out of it thinking, this is a bad idea, going 3 wide into 10A. And now he's watching the battle develop in front of him because he knows if both of those drivers end up making contact, he can get by both of them for the price of 1 and get above the cut line with that as well. Bottom of your screen, that's the battle with Zelensky for P19 as he currently sits even in the cut line, 3 wide into 10A for 6th.
Oh no, someone out into the gravel. It's Saricha P2 in the sprint race. So much less than that in the main race at this point, and they're still continuing to fight on the live pictures as well through the final corner. That became very messy very quickly. Violate trying to make a move down the inside of Sipler now in towards turn number 1. Sipler having to go the long way. Oh, he almost loses control of the car. He's able to keep it together. It's all becoming a bit too much here in the battle for 6th place. Oh, that was crazy, crazy stuff, and I don't know how that didn't end up any worse for everyone else involved.
Update on the battle for 19th. Bobby Zelensky back above the cut line because Kamil Grabowski had a spin at turn 10B. So he was able to get one more position, get back above that cut line. Remember, top 15 in the point standings at the end of the Contender Series qualify for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup of 2022. This puts Bobby Zelensky into that final spot, that 15th place. If you're 16th, unless somebody in the top 15 does not qualify in, you do not have an opportunity to qualify into the Super Cup. So we take a look at a Vodafone replay.
Yeah, let's have a look then at exactly what happened with Saricha, I believe, on the way down in towards 10A and 10B. I think he got a bit of a shunt from Sipler, and in fact, yes, he did. Sipler just that little bit later on the brakes and closed the distance, so quickly punted Saricha off the circuit, and that was a big moment there for Saricha. Thankfully, he didn't hit any barriers on the way, so he's able to continue on and maybe gain a couple positions before this race is done, but certainly not the lofty heights that he was expecting before that moment there. And of course, we do have all races reviewed after the event by our race administrators, so if they deem Saricha did something bad enough to warrant a penalty there, then they will apply it in the form of a points penalty, usually here in this series. So there are repercussions for things like that, Josh.
And we'll definitely see if we see any penalties from that. It did look like a bit of an aggressive move to go 3 wide there, especially into that corner. Definitely think the iRacing administrators will have something to say about that. Battle for 3rd right now on the racetrack. It's Webster still out in front. Williams and Sonnen trying to chase him down. And we're taking a look at Sonnen in the 40 here. P3 currently. A bit of a gap in between himself and Williams and between himself and Volters as well. We're really in between 2nd and 4th place right now in terms of time on the racetrack for Sonnen. Gonna have a little bit of work to do if he wants to catch up to the Command car in front of him with David Williams to have a chance of making that 2nd place.
Big task, and well, not too many laps to go either. This front battle has been relatively spread out since basically the very start of the race. Cooper Webster has been able to run away by quite a margin. He's extended that gap up now to 2.3 seconds. So if Cooper is able to maintain this gap all the way to the end, then that will be our 4th different main race winner from 4 races. So that's a stat line and a half, isn't it? It's fantastic to see the top step of the podium being shared by a good couple of drivers there. But Sonnen and Volters are having a bit of a wheel-to-wheel action at the moment here as well, as Volters was able to squeeze by on Sonnen, and Sonnen didn't really fight that one too much.
didn't look like he wanted the fight, really, with Alexander Volters, and Volters was able to go right on by, and bit interesting to see. But Sonnen just didn't want to go for that move, and maybe not wanting to get aggressive at this stage of this race. As we take a look at the first and second drivers, are on board with David Williams in second place, top of your screen, and then you can see Cooper Webster on board in his sim rig down in the bottom left hand of your screen. We can take a look at David Williams' sim rig, looking a lot like the sim rig of one Mitchell DeYoung from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series down bottom right of your screen in the battle for the lead. 2.4 seconds separating these two. Cooper Webster looking to be another one of those drivers, Connery, who takes a reverse grid pole and uses it to walk away with a feature race win.
It could be. It could well be. And, well, we still got a handful of laps to go here in this one, so you can't say things of a certain here, especially in any form of motorsports, no matter if it's in the real world or in sim racing. You can take nothing for certain. So he'll continue to just try and maintain that gap at the moment all the way back to Williams. Should be clear to the end for that Altus Esports car. So fantastic stuff there from Cooper Webster. Should have no pressure until the very end. I'm trying very deliberately not to curse him here. I know how the curse of the commentator works here. We're even going with the Vodafone on board with him. I think our production team are also trying to curse him.
Let's see if he does end up wrecking here into turn 10A, and if the commentator curse is going to strike from Connery Maddock. But Webster has been just about perfect throughout this race. I mean, the gap has not closed in at all. It has grown ever since the beginning of this race. Doesn't have the fastest time, but you take a look at last time by, 2/10 faster than Williams, 3/10 faster than Volters, about a full second faster than Sonnen, about a couple tenths faster than everybody else behind him. So a great run so far from Webster as we transition over to another Vodafone onboard. Elvis Rankin in the number 91 machine, currently P9, trying to chase down his Apex Racing teammate Peter Behrman as he almost goes into the grass.
Yeah, that was pretty close. You can see how much he's working the wheel. I wonder how high his force feedback setting is on that car. As we'll see fighting further back. This is Lockwood versus Goddard here on the way up through turn 2 and turn 3. Lockwood able to defend that position into that sequence of corners. Griffin Gardner is on the tail end of this one as well. There's the battle in the bottom right-hand side of your screen there. And Goddard now has to try and look in his wing mirrors because Gardner is closing up on him at a rate of knots up through turn 5. And, well, not going to be able to get anything done through there. He'll show the nose all he likes down in towards turn number 6, but there's going to be nothing doing into here. So Gardner has to be thinking now, okay, get the good run out of turn 7. Maybe I can make my move down into the chicane and use that slipstream to my advantage. That's going to be your main option to get past here at Road Atlanta. So we'll continue with the Vodafone on board with Gardner to see if he does make this move down into the chicane at the very tail end of the lap. He'll go to the inside, not defended to the inside by Goddard as Gardner sends it on the brakes into there. Important to get it slowed down. And he has done. So Gardner gains the position. A bit of a run out of the chicane from Goddard though, but he's not going to be able to do anything with it.
Not enough from Goddard to be able to defend as we go on board with Gardner, currently P14. And we were talking about rims being used earlier. Connery, take a look at that one. It looks like a bit more of an oval style rim. Definitely not a formula style rim. The ones that are more shaped like a rectangle, that one is shaped like a perfect circle there. More GT style of a wheel, Connery. So good choice from Griffin Gardner, and clearly working for him well up to P14. But you can see, again, how hard he's working going up through the S's. Very physical track, Road Atlanta, especially the constant uphill, downhill, and the harsh curbs he got through turns 1, basically all the way up to turn 5.
I guess the lines are getting blurred right now between GT-style rims and Formula-style rims because they're in a lot of more modern GT cars, they've gone with the Formula-style rims anyway. So yeah, the lines are blurred between those two for the moment. But we've got 3 to go here in this one at the moment. Soon to be 2 to go. So getting very close towards the end of the race now, as we're seeing, of course, that is the 40 of Julian Sonnen with Josh Thompson being involved in that battle as well. Battle just outside the top 10 as well. That was Elvis Rankin just having a little bit of a problem there. Alexei Nesov has been able to nip his way through. So has Jordan Caruso. So a bit of a swap for positions there down in P9, 10, and 11 coming across the line with 2 to go. Rankin
actually made contact with the 32. the 33 of Alexei Nesov going through 10A. I thought I saw a bit of damage to the front left of that number 91, and there is some damage there. Here's the Vodafone replay, bottom of your screen, and you can see Nesov goes to the inside. Rankin on the inside. Nesov comes up into his line just for a moment, and a little bit of contact leads to some damage for the 91 and led Jordan Caruso to work his way up into the top 10 with that move.
Well, there we go. That's what happens back there in those positions. And there still might be more on the cards before this race is done. Still, well, another 2 times down in towards that chicane for yet more action to happen. So you definitely want to stay tuned for this one. You might want to stay tuned for the battle for P4 as well, because that might come alight anytime soon. And, well, it's coming alight now. Here comes Josh Thompson down the inside at the chicane. Bit of contact. Door-to-door slam with Julian Sonnen. Sonnen's able to keep going, though. He's still ahead coming underneath the bridge. There's a bit of the flash of the lights in frustration from Josh Thompson as they negotiate the final corner across the line. 1 more lap to go for them to sort out their differences.
And Sonnen able to grab that 4th spot. Does Thompson have anything to retaliate to get further up into the top 5 positions on the racetrack? Through the S's for the final time. And Cooper Webster pulling away at the front. Can Thompson get further up into the top 5? He's coming up to a passing zone here of turn 6, but we haven't seen too many passes be made here in 6. Very difficult to get on the brakes differently than another driver and make that move. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it here into turn 6. Let's see what Josh Thompson can do into 10A, and if he's willing to get aggressive for a 4th place finish here in the feature, Connery.
Well, it's well, all the points matter in this sort of situation. Of course, Josh Thompson P11 in the point standings at the moment. So Julian Sonnen a little bit further up those ones. He's in P4 at the moment, but we do have to divert our attention because your, well, eventual race winner is coming through the final couple of corners now. Cooper Webster from Australia with Altus Esports behind him. He comes across the line to win here at Road Atlanta in the Porsche Esports Supercup Contender Series, our 4th different feature race winner from 4 races this season. And the 2nd driver this season, Connery, to win from reverse grid pole. The first one this season was in Barcelona. Kenson Vialate got the reverse grid pole and walked away with the feature race win. Cooper Webster becomes the 2nd driver this season to do so. And what a drive for Logitech G Altus Esports. Well, with the race over and done with now, we can head in towards our absolutely wonderful Bose post-race show here. And, well, there's a whole bunch to recap here at the end of, well, at times, some very frantic racing, especially for positions outside of the top 5, but sometimes inside it as well. There's the unofficial race results. Cooper Webster wins by 3.6 seconds over David Williams. That is a very, very comfortable margin indeed. Alexander Walters in 3rd place with Julian Sonnen in 4th. Josh Thompson inside the top 5 there. Matti Sippler, P6. He was able to improve a good couple of positions over the course of this race. Kenton Vialate in P7 with Peter Berryman in P8. Alexei Nesov P9 with Elvis Rankin himself inside of the top 10. Caruso in 11th with Biko in 12th. Lockwood 13th with Gardner 14th. Got to start in 15th with Sricha in 16th place here today. He was involved in a little bit of the dramas here today. Bruno Caniero in the position behind him, and we'll cycle back towards those very final drivers that are listed on the results sheet here. We had a couple of retirements, 4 retirements to be exact. Joshua Anderson and co at the very back there. Got Laurent Benso, Nicholas Laubish, Kane Halberton, and Vlad Kimichev actually did not take the start here in this situation. So, Josh, we've got ourselves our feature race winner ready for an interview. You're standing by with him. We have Cooper Webster with us now from Logitech G Altus Esports. Cooper, what a run for you in the feature race. Let's go back to the sprint. Was a little bit of a struggle for you there. Could only get up to P8, but ultimately that netted you the top spot when it came to the feature race.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have a very good qualifying. I would have liked to do a bit better in qualifying, and I felt like I had the pace to be in that top 3. But the sprint race, I got lucky and qualified 8th, and that's the inverted 8. So my mindset was just really take it chill, and if you can, don't make any moves because it'll put you right in the prime spot for the feature race. And yeah, it worked exactly like I planned it, so I'm really pleased.
and through that feature race. You started on the pole, of course, with that inverse grid and just ran away at the front of the field. Did that car feel good out there when it got in that clean air and that you could really pull away? Because we saw margin of victory 3.6 seconds, and that only grew throughout the 18 laps of the feature.
Yeah, the car felt really good. I felt really comfortable in the car. No big problems really. The only problem was probably turn 5, where it was a bit sketchy couple of laps. But yeah, like finally got to show my pace in this series. I've been kind of sitting a little bit further back and you know, battling quite hard. But yeah, I'm really stoked to get that race. And in the middle of the race, I was a bit worried that David may be closing on me, but it seemed that like he pushed a bit harder at the beginning to see if he could close the gap, because I just kept extending it towards the later in the race. So yeah, I'm just so happy about the race.
Long Beach in 1 week's time. Where's that confidence as we go into California?
I mean, I've definitely got a lot more confidence now after the back of this race, but I did okay in the qualifying series at Long Beach. It's not always easy. It's never easy at Long Beach because of the walls. There's so many walls in there. A bit unpredictable with curves, but hey, if I have a good qualifying, it should be a pretty straightforward to stay out of the mess. So yeah.
Good to hear from you, Cooper. Thank you for joining us here post-race in the Bose post-race show from Road Atlanta. Time to talk to David Williams in the number 31 machine. Second place finish for you here, David. A good effort, up one spot from where you began. How was that car feeling here at Road Atlanta?
Hey guys, to be honest, the car did not feel good. We sort of had a choice with our setup strategy before the race. And I decided to go for a more aggressive setup, given that I was going to be in the mid-pack, at least for the sprint especially, and it felt good in the sprint. So I decided to keep the same thing in the feature race. Yeah, Cooper was incredibly fast, to be honest. Thoroughly deserved win. I did manage to keep up with him for, I don't know, 5-6 laps or so, and then I just had one bad lap, and then from that point on, it was really just a case of desperately trying to manage the tires. Yeah, so I managed to hold on to second. So overall, I am very happy. Yeah.
And with 2 rounds left here in the campaign, what's your relationship right now with that cut line? And do you have the confidence at Long Beach and the Nürburgring that you can get or stay above that cut line and be in a prime spot to be in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup come 2022?
Yeah, sure. I think at this stage, I am quite comfortable with regards to that cutoff, and obviously that was the main goal. I think though we are looking in pretty good shape for the actual championship with the drop weeks factored in. So 2 rounds to go. I'll definitely give it a good shot, because that will really give. If we can get that to happen, that will really boost the confidence going into PESC next year. But yeah, 2 very difficult tracks coming up. Long Beach is definitely going to be a challenge. This car isn't amazing over bumps, and today was very tricky over the curbs especially. So I'm expecting more of the same, and obviously it's going to be very, very tight. So it's going to be a challenge for sure.
Good to hear from you, David, and congratulations on your second place finish here from Virtual Road Atlanta. The Bose post-race show continues with Alexander Volters, who joins us here in the commentary booth now. And Alexander, if you can tilt your camera down a little bit, we can see a bit more of your sim rig. And good run from you tonight. First time we're talking to you, finishing here in the podium places. How did that car feel at Road Atlanta? It looked like it was working pretty good for you and the R8G team.
The car was fine, but it didn't feel good by any means. In the quali, I had a good lap and I couldn't do it, unfortunately. But during the race, the car felt okay. We had to go with a very low wing setup, and it just at this track is just very, very hard. In the feature, I saw Julian was doing a couple of mistakes, and I just stayed behind him and waited for the opportunity for him to make the mistake. The team did a great job this week with the setup. And yeah, I have no words. It's my first time that I finally get a good result in the series, so I'm quite happy.
Well, we go to an even more difficult track, the Long Beach Street Circuit. Can you make it 2 podiums in a row? Where's that confidence level for you and the team?
I've never raced in that track. It's gonna be a fun one, but I'm gonna try my best as always. So let's see how it goes.
Thank you for joining us here in the Bose post-race show. That is Alexander Volter's P3 finisher and last driver from the podium, Connery. And what a day we have seen from Road Atlanta. 3 wide, 2 wide carnage. We had a little bit of everything.
Yep, we really, really did. And, well, that just sets us up quite nicely for the final 2 rounds of the season, does it? And, well, we can, in a couple of moments' time, we can have a little bit of a look at the point situation here at the end of this race at Road Atlanta for round number 4 of the championship. And it looks like this. So we do have, of course, a new championship leader. That's due to Gianni Viecchio's non-participation in the race here today. So it's Julian Sonnen taking the championship lead with Quentin Violate and David Williams not too far behind. Just a handful of points involved in through that P1 through 4. You can see at the cut line, though, Bobby Zelensky has been able to get his way in. Something that we didn't mention as well, Cooper Webster down in P17 before this event. With that feature race win, he's promoted himself all the way up into P11 and clear of the cut line for now. The driver outside the cut line, Ayan Guven, Elvis Rankin, Jack Sedgwick, Jordan Caruso, Kamil Grabowski down to P20B have a lot of work to do in the final 2 rounds of this season, Josh, to get themselves their ticket into the season.
And great for Bobby Zelensky to go up above that cut line as well. And Connery, we're going to the only street circuit on the calendar next week. We stay in America, but we go to a much more different racetrack. This one's going to be exciting. IndyCar is known for going here. IMSA is known for this track. One of the best street circuits, in my personal opinion, that you could visit anywhere in the world.
We go from the eastern part of the U.S. to the western part of the U.S. as we head to Long Beach in California. Of course, the longest-standing street race in North America. It's absolutely fantastic stuff, this racetrack, and a very big, different beast that these drivers will have to tackle here. So this is certainly one race that you do not want to miss. Same time, same place. Next week, we'll be there, but for now, we have to say goodbye.